Welcome to Horror Franchise Wednesday. Let's talk about House 3. This will be quick. I don't have much to say about this. So, House 3, aka The Horror Show. I don't know why it's called The Horror Show. I guess the studio wanted to start a new franchise, MGM, United Artists. Who did 1 and 2? Somebody else did, but they wanted to start a new franchise, a new iconic villain, with Brion James as the main villain here. And therefore they changed the name. They said, let's not call it House 3, even though it's the same production. You have Sean Cunningham, you got Mac Allberg doing the cinematography once again, you got Harry Manfredini doing the score. They changed the name to The Horror Show, and I don't know exactly what that has to do with the plot of this movie. There's like 4 movies that came out this year with this plot of a person getting electrocuted and then coming back to haunt people as a form of electricity and shit. It's like Shocker or a bunch of other movies that came out around that time. And it's very silly, but this one takes itself serious. This is the most like serious toned of the 4 movies, which I kind of like. It makes it stand out from them. And the fact that this one has nothing to do with a house or portals. So yeah, this doesn't even feel like a house film at all. So I can see why people don't really count this as a house movie in the series, but it is technically called House 3 in some places, so we're talking about it. Let's get into the movie. What are the few things that I like about this movie? Well, I like having Lance Henriksen as the lead. I think he gives a good performance, and even the wife played by Taggart, I forget her first name, Rita Taggart. Thought she did a good job, so this probably has some of the better performances of the franchise that I've seen so far. Haven't rewatched 4 yet, but I don't remember anything spectacular in that film. And so yeah, this one has some good performances. I think Brion James is a little over the top in his performance, but yeah, it's got that going for it, and it's got K and B effects. There's a lot of trippy, like nightmare sequences, and just pregnant bellies getting bigger and like things moving around inside the stomach and turkeys coming alive and people getting decapitated, heads exploding. It's not really happening though, because it's all nightmare stuff. But yeah, there's some pretty good K and B effects in here. So when I saw their name, I was pretty excited because they were pretty good. And so yeah, this one actually has gore. This one actually feels rated R. The first 2, well, the second one wasn't R, but the first one was, and it didn't feel rated R at all. This one actually earns that R. Besides those things, there's not really much else that I like about it, so let's not bullshit any longer and get into the negatives. So, I don't like the opening of this movie. It's just a fuck you. It's a flashback within a dream sequence within a dream sequence. I hate when they wake up from a dream into another dream. It's just like, stop. And it even opens up with a cat scare. It's like, this movie doesn't even remotely succeed at being scary. It's trying to take itself serious, but it's way too silly to be taken seriously. Like, I don't know if they knew what they were making. This was a doomed project. Like, this person who was directing this movie got fired a few days into it, so they hired Jim Isaac to come in, who would later direct Jason X. The writer of this film is Alan Smithy, so the person dropped out. They didn't want their name on the project. Oh my god, the laugh in this movie. Stop. This guy, they play his laugh like 100 times, and it's so stupid. It's not scary, it's annoying. Stop with the laughter. I hate that crap. And it's just constantly fake out scares, people like putting their hands on their shoulders. I talked about it plenty of times before. It's so dumb. Why do people do that in horror movies? Why do you sneak up on people and put your hand on their shoulder instead of just calling their name from across the room? Why you gotta sneak up on them and scare them, you asshole? And the story is so fucking all over the place. It's convoluted at the end. Like, I don't like supernatural slashers. It just makes me ask too many questions when I'm watching it. Like, well, if he can do this, why isn't he doing it now? Why isn't he just doing this? I just start asking questions, and I'm not really enjoying the movie. I was not enjoying this movie almost at all, besides some of the effects in the film. And there's no continuity here. This has nothing to do with House 1 or 2, so why call itself House 3 in certain countries? The house that they live in doesn't even look cool like the houses in 1 and 2. And yeah, the whole story of like electricity is evil and what the fuck. Like, it's just so dumb. The professor character, they just throw him in here for exposition's sake so you can tell Lance Henriksen really quick what's going on, but was it really necessary? That character? Not really. Just get rid of him. He's just padding the runtime. And yes, I don't want to talk any longer about this movie. I did not enjoy it. I liked seeing Lance Henriksen. I liked seeing some of the K&B effects. Harry's score was different from the first two and okay. And yeah, there's some stunts in here that are good. You got King Hodder doing some of the stunts in here. But nothing really all that amazing. It's not even a fun movie to watch with friends to pick apart. It's not so bad it's good. It's just bad. Some people might enjoy some of the weirdness of this film, but to me, it just wasn't weird enough, and it wasn't scary enough, or anything in between. There's just nothing really I gained from this movie. So when it comes to the horror show, aka House 3, to me, this one for me was just wasted time. So let's go through the spoiler discussion real quick. So I already said it, we open up with a cat scare, letting you know that the film is going to be that caliber of scares. Just cats jumping at the screen from closets, because everybody locks their cats in closets. And you get the whole flashback within a dream sequence, and he's like finding, but some of it's, I guess, true and accurate. It's actually things that did happen. There's body parts and like the fry later and heads on plates and shit. So that was kind of cool. And and if the whole girl getting her head chopped off thing, what did actually happen, that's pretty fucked up. This killer is not playing around. He just chops this girl's head right off with a meat cleaver, and I'm thinking that really happened. He just throws it right at Lance. And so, yeah. But things that are happening in his dream or happening in real life when he wakes up from that dream, he actually has like a cut on his chest. But how is that even possible? Did he just hurt himself in his sleep? Maybe I'll rationalize it that way, because it's not like at this point in the movie he's a supernatural slasher. He's still alive at this point, so I don't get that. It's basically trying to be Nightmare on Elm Street, and we find out that Max Janke, the supernatural killer in this movie, he killed 110 people before finally getting caught. So this guy's killed more people than Jason Voorhees at the time, and Freddy Krueger and Michael put together. Like, Jesus Christ. And he wants to be buried with his meat cleaver. And we get the whole execution scene. And I thought in these situations, there's usually like a glass window and they kind of look through and the guy can't see them. But in this situation, there's not that at all. They're just all in the same room with the person being electrocuted. I thought that was different. But the scene wouldn't work if it was like, like what I was saying with the glass window, because in this scene, because there's no glass window, separating them, when he gets electrocuted, he just gets out of the chair, starts walking towards Lance and pointing at him like, I'm going to get you from beyond the grave, I'm coming back.
Lucas, I'm going to tear your world apart, coming back to fuck you up.
And I like that when he first gets shocked, he's like, the only thing that did was make me harder. And it just gave me a hard on. And we find out later on that he has an electric chair at his house that he's been practicing with. So I guess before he ever got caught, he knew eventually he would get caught and get sent to death row. So he's just been practicing getting shocked to death at his house for quite some time. We see a soul leave his body. This professor character just comes in and this coroner just lets him stay in the room with all these dead bodies. Like, I don't think so. He does not have clearance to be in there. He wouldn't let him just stay in there with the bodies. But yeah, I guess his soul just leaves his body. The electricity, the evil electricity, finds its way to Lance's house. How he knew where Lance lived, I don't know. And he has pictures of Lance and his family at his house. Why? He never met that cop until he got caught by that cop. He wouldn't have time to go have a vendetta and seek out his pictures and shit and put it all on his walls. Like, why would he have all those photos and shit at his house unless the professor put that crap there? But why would he do that? And Vinny, the boyfriend in the basement, he gets his arm chopped off, and this movie was cut down by the MPAA. It would have gotten an X rating, so there's some things missing here, but I'm surprised we got what we got. We at least got to see his arm get chopped off, but then I read that we got to see Vinny get torn in half, and there's even a line dropped later on by a cop who mentions the fact that Vinny was torn in half, but we don't get to see that. So that was just fucking lame. I do like that there's a hockey mask in the basement, and this is by, Cunningham and whatnot. So that was kind of a cool thing. And so you're telling me it took her like that long to put a dress on? Her parents leave to go have dinner. She goes upstairs to get a dress on to go look pretty for her boyfriend who's waiting for her in the basement. But by the time she gets in the basement with her dress on, we hear her parents come home from dinner. So either A, she took so fucking long to get a dress on, or B, her parents just had the quickest dinner ever in the quickest service at the place. Like, that's, I don't know. That's ridiculous. After all that crap, we find out that the son is getting all these free products sent to him because he's sending threatening letters to companies, and they're just sending him just gallons and gallons of free shit and buckets of this food and that food. So this guy he's got some schemes, and he's just fucking ripping people off. He's an evil little bastard. And so I like that they thought that Lance was in the basement yelling at Vinny. I thought that was kind of a clever joke. They think he's yelling at Vinny, but he's really just yelling at Max Janky. And then we get like the hallucination scene after hallucination, and you would think at some point that Lance would wake the fuck up and realize that this isn't really happening, but he just keeps falling for it again and again and again. The turkey comes alive, and he stabs the turkey. Oh, sorry, family. I guess I just don't like turkey. And then they're all watching like a comedy show, and it turns into a horror show. There's the title. But the Max Janky's on the TV. He gets so pissed off he shoots the TV, and his family's like, "What the fuck?" That was pretty funny. That was one silly moment that actually kind of made me chuckle. And we get this very quick exposition scene from the professor. He's talking to Lance. He's like, "The electricity is evil. I've been studying it, and now I found out that evil is electricity, and I don't understand what the fuck he's talking about." So I could have done without an explanation. Just don't explain it at all. The audience is going to be like, whatever, I'll accept that he's back from beyond the grave as electricity. I don't need an explanation. That's ridiculous. And I love this cop, the internal affairs guy. His acting, he's so over the top. When he's trying to act all mad, he's playing like bad cop. It's pretty funny. Like the way he's slamming the desk. Like, yeah, there's no real passion there. And we get a body double, some nudity from the young 17-year-old. So she's underage, her character, but we get to see her body. But it was a body double for sure. And we see the son dead, supposedly, on his bed. His ears are bleeding. I thought that was kind of ironic death because he's the character that's just constantly blasting like Metallica music in his ears. We get like a Friday the 13th Halloween moment where a body just kind of falls on cue. A standing body just falls from behind like a stack of clothes or some shit. Like, that would never happen. And we get like the most fake dead cat I've ever seen since like Reanimator. And baby Janky, there's like a baby version of the killer, and that just looked pretty awful. Followed by awesome head explosion. So we got like a bad effect, a good effect, bad effect, and then like the daughter gets raped, maybe. That's implied, but they don't go for it. This movie plays it very safe at times. When Lance gets there, we see like her belly expand, and like there's like his face pressing up against the belly. I thought that was a cool effect. And then they shock him into the real world, and it just kind of took me right back to Nightmare on Elm Street. The whole plot of, we gotta get Freddy into the real world so we can kill him, and that's exactly how they defeat Max in this. They somehow get him to cleaver and an electrical panel, and then they shock his balls at the same time, and they bring him into the real world, and then they shoot him a bunch. Lance drops a one-liner, and then he's dead. But I'm sure he would have gotten arrested or charged with something still, because he did punch a cop to escape the police station. But then everything's just taken back. It's a clean slate, like nothing ever happened. All the family members that you thought were dead are back. The cat's alive again. This movie just plays it safe. It's a happy ending. The movie just also looks ugly. I forgot did I mention that earlier? No, I did not. In my negatives, I don't like the look of this movie. Wasn't a fan of it. But yeah, everybody's alive again. Happy ending. Roll credits. And then he got a 5-year supply of chili, the little kid. So he's still conning people, stealing money, stealing products from people like a little asshole. But it's funny because he's my favorite character. Hockey Mask for best character in this movie is the son, Scott, who is constantly getting free products from people, blasting Metallica music. I just really liked his character. And the Hanky Award for worst character in this movie will be Max Janky because of his laugh alone. Fuck that laugh. It's so stupid. Quit doing it. And the Clapper Award for best scene in this movie will be the execution scene because it's just a cheesy ass scene and very, very 80s. And the Funny Bone Award for funniest moment is when Lance shoots the TV because he was seeing Max Janky on the TV antagonizing him. And those are my thoughts on The Horror Show, aka House 3. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. I'm sure some of you out there like it, and that's okay, but it just wasn't for me. So yeah, there you go. Let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today if you haven't done so already, just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, Auf Wiedersehen.